Hi, and welcome to the A Quilting Life podcast. I'm Chelsi from Chelsi Stratton Designs.
And I'm Sherri McConnell from A Quilting Life.
And we are here with you today for our listener questions podcast episode. It is Monday, June 30th. And I'm actually going to get us started with our sponsor, Cozy Earth. It is super hot here right now, and we love all of our Cozy Earth products. I especially love my Cozy Earth pajamas and sheets, and Mom has even mentioned the towels. They are so great. They just keep us cool all summer and winter long. Perfect temps, you guys. I just love them, and I actually even am still wearing the long pant pajamas in the summer as well. Yeah,
me too.
I love them so much. So for right now, you can get 40% off. Mom is going to tell us how.
You can use the link in the description below or use our code A Quilting Life, and be sure to mention that you came from the A Quilting Life podcast. We would appreciate that so much.
Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Mom, and she's going to tell us about her cute quilt on the table.
Okay, I'm not sure I've ever shared this one, or if I haven't.
I think you have.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's cute.
So this is Stareyed, and this was actually my pattern that was in one of our project packages, the Laguna. I've got it pieced here in our Laguna Sunrise Fabrics, but I'm not sure which project package it was in. It might have been the Strawberry Lemonade project package. But anyway, it's a fat eighth quilt. It uses 12 fat eighths to make this fun. It's about 47 by 60. And I loved using the low volume on the sashing. It was quilted by Mary and Bott. But this was one of those great quilts where if you did 12 fat quarters instead of 12 fat eighths, you could make, double the blocks. So just a really, really fun design with kind of the little low volumes accenting the center of the stars and brighter fabrics outside in the corners. And yeah, I love a good secondary pattern like this one has. So this is Starry-Eyed.
Wait, I really love that you brought this up, because that is a very popular question on the podcast, is how can I make this quilt bigger? You just doubled the requirement. So this is fat eighth. That just like clicked in my brain. So you really could fat quarters and you could just double everything. I love that.
Yeah.
That was great.
Or another thing, if you only have 6 fat quarters and you wanted to make this quilt, you could do it with 6 fat quarters. You wouldn't have as much variety.
Yeah, the variety wouldn't be as much.
Right. But sometimes if you just have something in your stash and you want to use it up, this would be a great project for that too. So
yeah, and I think it is important to use. That's another great question we have. How can I use my stash? Right. I think that's great too.
Yeah.
This was like the perfect quilt for today. Look at us.
I just don't think I've shared it before. So anyway, no mode a minute today, but I do want to mention once again that I'm opening the doors for my Quilting Life Academy. It's a 6-week comprehensive quilting class, perfect for someone that's at the very beginner level or even up to intermediate level. I've had intermediate and even advanced quilters take the course and tell me that they were super pleased with it and learned lots of new things. We have printables for getting organized. You get a pattern for the Garden Star Sampler quilt, and that's the quilt we actually make. So I walk you through all of the blocks and the sashing and the putting it together and just all of the tips and tricks for making all of the basic quilt units. It's just a really great course. We are going to be starting on July 14th. And again, I won't be really opening the doors for this course until next January at the earliest. There are also 2 different live components where you can submit questions, and I'm super excited about it. I've run it several times now. I feel like it's just been a great value for everyone who's taken it, and we have a link for that in the description below.
I'll jump into today's listener quilts. Our first one here is some Strawberry Lemonade small projects. Read the email that goes along with it. She says, I'm enjoying the podcast and so happy to see the 3 of you work together the way you do. I wish you all the best. Last year, I bought a fat quarter bundle of Sherri and Chelsi's Strawberry Lemonade, the first time that I've bought their fabric. I had just bought a couple of quilt seed patterns, she put Lori Holt in parentheses there, for wall hangings for a new quilt room that I would have to decorate. I also started making a table runner following a pattern that went rogue, and I just made it up and finished it. We use it on our kitchen island. And she said, now to some of the other patterns that I bought from Sherri. I also used the 60-inch Hexi cheater for the backs on all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Love that, and we'll look for more of the wide backings and that. And so I have all the pictures, obviously, up on the screen here because there was like 3-4 pictures of that she sent
that's one that came to me, and then I forwarded it to you. Yes.
Yeah, and this is from Kathleen.
Yeah, those are awesome projects. I love everything I see in Strawberry Lemonade, actually.
Oh, same here.
I love the phrase, the pattern went rogue, too.
Yeah.
That is literally my favorite.
Yes.
But she finished it.
Yes.
I think that's key, too. She said it went rogue. It maybe didn't go the way she initially planned, but she finished it, and that was that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one here is the Heart of the Home. That's Chelsi's, right?
No,
it's
that's
probably
Mom's, but it's renamed.
That's right. You've
I know,
renamed
it's
it
been
since then.
so
I
hard
remember.
with the
That was-
magazine giving it that name. So
I have had so many emails I cannot even tell you.
I know.
It's okay.
It's Summer House. If you
Summer
made it
House.
from the magazine,
It's Heart of the Home.
But if you bought my pattern at Summer House, then that's me. But
Yes.
Chelsi has Hearts at Home 1 and 2.
Yes.
Yes. So,
Okay, but yours is also a log cabin
yes.
block or quilt.
Yes.
Quilt. There's blocks in there, but there's different things in the middle. Okay.
Right. Yes.
All right. We got it all straightened out. Even me, I messed up, and I'm around you guys all the time.
Billy.
Okay, so she says, I have been listening/watching your podcast for some time now and have been wanting to email you guys to tell you how much I appreciate the time and effort you put into your podcast for us quilters. You always have the greatest content, and as a new quilter, I appreciate all the helpful tips and information that you provide. I wanted to show you my Heart of the Home quilt, or what's it also called now,
Summer
Mom?
House.
Summer House.
Yes.
It was my first so-long quilt. It was also my first log cabin and the first quilt that I long-armed myself. I thought that the yellow was so cheery and fun, and I mostly used scraps from my stash. I really loved the way it turned out. I also wanted to show you the picture of my fabric storage. I remember Chelsi mentioning that her fabric was stored in her closet, and so is mine. We moved last year, and I lost my craft room, and I have to wait for a room addition to be built so I am making the best of what I have available. My husband put extra shelves in at the top for all my quilt kits, and the rest of my fabric is stored in bins that are sorted by theme or color. For now, it is a little inconvenient, but just imagine how big my closet will fill when it isn't inundated with fabric. Thanks for all you do for the quilting community, and that is from Amy. And she also put her so I'll put that up on the screen at Amy Jose Sews.
I love that. I love hearing how people make the best of a situation when they're, she's losing her craft room for a certain space of time, and it takes a little while to get an addition built on. So
you guys are making me laugh today.
And I didn't show you the picture of the closet, so you'll have to check that out.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, because there's a lot of fabric in there.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Chelsi has a pretty big closet, but it's very well organized with your fabric.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have tried my very best. Yeah.
Okay, the last one that we're going to share today is the montage quilt. Hello, Billy, Sherri, and Chelsi. I wanted to share my most recent quilt. I suddenly got an idea one day for a summer quilt and decided to make your montage quilt pattern using Robin Pickens' Dandy Duo fabric line.
Oh.
This is the quilt. My friend Gina Tell of Thread Graffiti quilted it using a panto called Quattro, but it's not. Yeah, Quattro, I believe is how you spell it. Okay. The quilt is 102 inches by 102 inches or king size. I just love how this turned out. Now to bind it with scrappy binding made from my leftovers. Thank you so much for beautiful pattern, Sherri. I have never had a more beautiful quilt. And that is from Cindy.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. That's quite a compliment. That's one of my favorite patterns too. And it was funny because I took it to the trunk show in St. George.
Yeah.
And I noticed that was one that people, did a double take at. So thank you.
Okay, so we'll now jump into our listener question section. And the first one here is from Mary. Appreciate Mary. She watches all of our episodes. And she just had a pretty straightforward question here, but I think you could elaborate on it a little bit. She said, how many projects are you comfortable working on at one time?
2.
Wow. Wow. Okay. First, I have to say thank you, Mary. I always love Mary's questions. After I answer this one, I'm going to also mention a question that she sent over through Patreon. So anyway, I love getting the question when Billy texts us that he has the outline. And I always love going and seeing what are the questions, right?
Yeah.
Right? 2. Wow. I'm comfortable with more.
And I knew you would be.
But I also feel like, okay, so we're at the midpoint of the year, right? It's June 30th today. So the year is half over. So I'm kind of getting ready to do my mid-year review. And I got some things done right at the beginning of the year, but then I feel like just getting ready for those retreats took all of my life.
Yeah. And you did way more work than me, and I still felt like I did a ton of work.
So I'm going to like really be specific. I'm going to pick 3 projects that I'm going to work on at a time, no more than 3. And we have sample yardage coming pretty soon.
It's probably here by the time
this episode airs. Yeah, we might have it. So I'm going to be working on 2 new quilts at a time, probably, but try to keep one working on a 3rd one so that I have something to share with all of you while we can't share what we're sharing, right?
So what's your number? Because I'm... okay, let me explain mine, because Kimberly Jolly would tell you 50, okay?
Yeah.
She does. I've seen her stack of
project
mood
boards.
Her project boards. The reason this is very specific to this year. It is almost July 1st, and I already know what the rest of my year looks like. I know how many fabric collections are coming out. I'm not going to tell you. We might have something extra this year. And I just already know if I start too many things. So by 2, I mean I'm always going to be at least trying to sew one of my new quilts, because I know we're getting sample yardage.
Right.
And you guys, I'm giving you the update on number 2. The Santa quilt is not done yet. Santa is number 2, okay? And it's going to continue to be number 2 until I finish it. But that's all I can handle. I'm not even thinking beyond that right now.
I have an idea for that. Remind me to tell you after the podcast. But
I don't want you to help me.
Okay, no, I'm not helping you. It's just
I don't
an
want
idea.
you to bail me out of this
No,
one.
I'm not bailing you out. I just had an idea.
Okay.
So
2.
2. Okay. And I feel like
I could give a range, like 10 to 12 or 10.
I'm going to say 6 to 12. And
6
this
to
is
12.
why.
Okay.
At the same time?
Yeah, but they don't all have to be finished, because like I've got my block of the month going on, right? I've got Moda blockheads.
Oh yeah, I do have to do.
We've got the Brightly sew along, which that one's almost done. I'm going to be making my last blocks.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And then also I'm actually way ahead on my block of the month, and I'm going to try to finish it. By the time you watch this, maybe my blocks are all done, because I want to be able to work on these other things that we have to work on.
And another special project that we wanted to work on.
Yes. So
that's due soon when you think of it.
Yeah.
Guys, this woman is
So some of these things are... I'm okay if it's a work in progress, and I know it's a year-long project. I can have multiple block of the months.
Okay.
That I'm just doing a block every month, so I'm working on it, but I know it doesn't have to be finished. But as for things that I want to get finished, I would say just probably 2 to try to finish right away.
Okay.
You know?
That you're like,
Yeah.
I'm going to
If it's not a year-long project or a lifetime project like a hexagon quilt or something.
I feel like I also need to address, I love quilting. I do. That's just the most I can handle right now in my life.
Yeah.
Guys, I just got a puppy. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
We haven't even
That's an
shared about that.
announcement.
Yeah.
Wait, I
I'll
need
have to pop up a picture of him.
Oh my goodness, let's pop it up.
Okay,
I
will.
just need to give an update. Moose is the best dog, you guys. My husband was like, "You're crazy. Why are we doing this? We don't have time. What are we doing?" And we are in love with him.
He's a Dachshund.
If
you're listening,
He's a mini. He's a black and tan. You'll see in the picture.
Okay.
We love him.
Awesome. And just really quick before we move on to the next question, The question that Mary asked in my Patreon group last month that was so good about our retreat, she said, what did you learn from the people who attended?
Oh
and
my God.
I appreciated her asking that question so much because it really made me stop and think, wow, I learned so much from the people who attended, and just really grateful for that question.
Those women were amazing. Their stories were amazing. I will forever talk about that retreat.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a good experience.
Yeah.
It's humbling being in a room with so many amazing women.
Yeah.
And that was a great question.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so this next one here, it was asking, you talked about like when before you started becoming a pattern designer mom, how you used to be, sew for Camille and also Lori Holt, is that right?
And Joanna.
And Joanna, and you've mentioned Nancy Lane, who now sews for you guys. So somebody just had a question, like, how did that come about? Like, how were you even able to meet them to be able to offer your services,
Yeah, that one's pretty simple. So actually, Joanna put a call out on her blog, and I emailed her and offered to sew. So that's how that started.
It blows my mind.
I know it kind of blows my mind too.
It's crazy.
But you have to remember too, like I had been blogging voraciously for several years, and I sewed a lot with her fabric, and she was aware of my blog.
Oh, okay.
So she had been reading my blog, and I had been reading her blog. So a little bit different, but then she's the one that suggested that Camille have me do some sewing because they were fellow moda designers.
Okay.
And I believe the way it came up was Camille and I were talking about this because we couldn't remember. And I was like, no, Joanna suggested that you reach out to me because she knew that I lived close to you. So that's how that happened. And then Lori Holt, I actually took a class from Lori and also taught with her at a retreat up in Heber, Utah. And so I just kind of had this little, I knew her that way. And also the same thing from the blogs. Lori Holt has been a blogger from the beginning, and she still blogs. So we knew each other from the blogs, and that's kind of how that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was reading a little more into this, and she said, did you have to pass a test to see how good of a sewer you were? But it does bring up a good point of like, okay, she put a call out on her blog, but she must have, before she agreed to it, must have seen some of your previous work, and maybe it was just through the blog.
I mean, through the photos. Yeah, but for anyone wanting to get involved in, I guess my main answer is just, I would go to a quilt shop and ask if they need anyone to sew their samples, because I feel like quilt shops they can't sew all the samples and do all the things. And so see if you can work out an arrangement with them. And I feel like the different arrangements that I've heard are all different. So I don't want to give any specifics on that because what one shop might be willing to do
is different from another.
So so just go reach out to shops and watch for call outs on social media too. Yeah.
I will tell you, I felt guilty for years. I did not want to have anyone sample sew for me at all. Best decision I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Ever. With 3 kids, doing everything that they're involved in right now.
Oh, best decision is now letting people.
People. Yeah. I think I just felt like I have to do it, and...
And even Camille, she sews all her quilts now.
She does.
But when she was having some help was when her kids were younger.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Another one of those questions was, did you start sewing samples for quilt shops? So that's good that you mentioned that. So you didn't do that specifically, but that is a good way.
I think that's a good way to get in. I never did that, but I think that's a good way to get in.
That was from Darlene. So thank you, Darlene, for that question. Okay.
And there was another question that was similar, so we just answered that one. Yeah. Kind of covered the same topic.
Yeah, altogether. Yes. One other thing that they, when you did start sewing for them, they did send you the supplies.
Yes.
As the same way that you do with like Nancy now or other people that quilt for you.
Right.
You provide the stuff.
But that can be different because sometimes designers want a pattern tester to use their own fabric and test out their pattern and then share that on social media. So again, that can be different depending on,
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so the next one here, hi Sherri, Hi, Billy, Sherri, and Chelsi.
Ooh.
A few questions. I probably won't be able to answer this for you guys, but thanks for including me. A few questions for your next question episode, whenever that may be. What skills or techniques would you consider for an intermediate level quilter to know? Curves, precise binding, more intricate piecing, use of knowledge of color theory, and then what skills and techniques for an advanced quilter? Thank you so much for an awesome podcast. I look forward to every episode. It's like having coffee with friends and getting my bi-weekly inspiration. That's from Libby.
I love that. Thank you.
I love your name. I love that name, Libby.
Yeah.
I do want to address, so 95% of my patterns are beginner patterns because they just use traditional piecing methods and nothing crazy. If you have sewn one of my patterns, you can probably make most of them. They're very, I use similar techniques. But this question got brought up at the retreat. Bountiful Baskets is a pattern I have that looks like it's intermediate. You're sewing on a scant. There's like all these different things that
you have to be really precise.
You have to, so precise.
Yes.
And I think that garners, getting the stamp of intermediate, yeah. So I think all the things that she mentioned, curves, being precise are things that make it more intermediate.
I feel like the more intricate piecing and the need for more precision to make it work are definitely intermediate.
Yeah.
Curves you maybe could push to advanced, because she says what's the technique for advanced.
I haven't even done curves.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
But yeah, you definitely need to. I would say if you're an intermediate quilter, you definitely need to be able to make a block and have it come out the size that the pattern says it should come out. Maybe beginners, their blocks don't always come out the right size. Maybe they're a little bit too big or a little bit too small. But if you're intermediate, I feel like you can pretty much guarantee that your flying geese unit that's supposed to be 2 inches by 4 inches finished is 2 inches by 4 inches finished.
Yeah.
And the same thing, whatever method you need to use. Now, that being said, I've seen people make their first quilts and have a precision that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I feel like with the right techniques and caretaking, even a beginner can do an intermediate quilt.
Yeah.
So
Bountiful Baskets, though, was just one of those that even I had multiple conversations with pattern sewers and pattern testers, and I even made it like a block 3 times, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And even it was really great for me because Camille's Fireworks quilt, in her pattern, I loved she had such a great way of explaining, you have to try at it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I finished that quilt and I was so proud of myself, but it was intermediate for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, precise quilting.
Well, and along that lines, we just today, the day that we're filming this, not the day that you're watching this, but the Moda Blockheads block number 4 was an intermediate block, and it had half rectangles and half square triangles. And I actually, my first stab at it did not come out, and I threw it in the trash, and I went back and I followed those instructions to a T. And I wrote on my blog when I posted about that block, I said, follow every instruction to a T and you'll be fine, and go slow. But I feel like that was definitely an intermediate block, that number 4. So
do you remember who designed that one?
It was
which one is
Kylie's Quilt Room.
Because I think
Kylie,
I'm the next block.
I've already made yours. It's so stinking cute.
I
love it. Yeah. Kylie something. She's a new designer at Kylie's Quilt Room. So, but anyway, it was definitely an intermediate block, and the thing that I didn't follow the first time around was it told you to put a dot on your ruler for trimming. And I was like, oh, I can just eyeball it. I don't need to take a Sharpie and put a mark on my ruler, because you can mark on your ruler with a Sharpie and you can take it off with rubbing alcohol but anyway, when it didn't come out right, I got my Sharpie, I made the mark on the ruler like the pattern said, and sure enough, it came out right. So
with intermediate blocks, I mean, that's going to take more concentration.
A little bit more concentration.
And again, just more attention to detail, it sounds like.
Yes.
To make everything work.
Yeah.
Good deal. Okay. The next one here, Sherri, Chelsi, and Billy. Just in case you were wondering,
This one cracks
who
me
is the
up.
one deep dive watching and liking all the old podcast videos on YouTube? That's me. So thank you. I do see like random comments pop up from like episode
older
14
videos.
or something,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
love
like,
that.
oh, someone's watching something from a few years ago. One question I've been pondering for a while now is how to style a quilt on a bed. Before making my own quilts, I would buy a, quote, quilt in a bag that comes with a blanket and 2 pillow shams. For bed quilts, do you make pillow shams or something along those lines to go on the bed, or maybe a pillowcase or throw pillows? Another option is to make it long enough to tuck and fold over the bed. Open to ideas. I look forward to all of your thoughts and suggestions, and that is from Leslie.
This is a great question. What I've been doing lately is I have these 3 big pillows that I have on my bed that are neutral, like a creamy white. And so I will always put the quilt on. I will cover up the pillows that we sleep with those 3 big pillows.
Yeah.
And then I'll put an accent pillow that matches the quilt in front.
In front.
That's what I've been doing. So that way my quilt doesn't have to be so long that it covers the pillows, and I also don't have to make shams to go with everything. Now, that being said, once in a while I do make shams. Like I have Christmas shams that I bring out every year with the Christmas quilt. But yeah, I just go with neutral throw pillows and then a pop of color with a smaller pillow that I've made. So I'm trying to think like even like a pillow behind me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that shows in the camera, but if I had a quilt on the bed with that fabric, I would have the 3 creamy colored pillows, and then I'd put that in front
That's
of
how
it.
I am. I'm like a neutral pillow girly.
Yeah.
And then the quilt is going to give the pizzazz is what it's going to do.
Yeah.
But an accent pillow always.
Yeah.
Always.
But you could do shams with every quilt. I know a lot of people do that. They get a couple extra yards.
Shams are never a bad idea.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Like, that's like a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
What quilt is currently on your bed right now, Mom?
Currently on my bed is actually the Minnick and Simpson Churn Dash Scrappy Quilt. It's not our fabric, I know,
Okay.
but
Red, white, and blue?
it's red, white, and blue for the 4th of July.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's fine. What is on your
Mine
bed,
is
Chelsi?
the same year round until I make another king size quilt that Mom gifted me, and it's red, white, and blue
white, and
fabrics.
blue.
And what's the pattern again?
It's a rail fence.
It's a rail fence.
Rail
Yes.
fence, king size.
Yes.
King size,
And it's just all scrappy reds and
it's
blues.
just all
yeah.
scrappy. And you
Yeah.
want to know what? I love it, and it's comfy.
Yeah.
So
And it's there in the winter and the summer
in the
and
summer.
the spring. Okay.
But I do shots of my quilts. So this is a great thing. Your quilt doesn't always have to be a king size quilt for
Right.
it to work.
Exactly.
And so when I do quilt photography on my bed, I make it work because you can add extra pillows and yeah it's cute.
Yeah, pull
and you
it
can
down
also
further.
lay it diagonally
Yes,
for a
diagonal.
photo. Yes.
Can I just share a comment Camille made at our retreat that was so funny? We were sitting in the back waiting for the trunk show, and I can't even remember if that was where Camille said it, but she said it. She's like, yeah, it was during the trunk show. She's like, yeah, this is this quilt, and was naming it. And she's like, I took it off my bed when I left. It was on her bed, and
Yeah.
she's like, I'm going to go take this for the trunk show.
Yeah.
And that's just something I love about Camille, is she's just so honest.
Yeah.
And it was cute.
Oh, I know. And she mentioned also she had this one quilt that one of her cats had claimed. And she's like, I'm sorry, quilt holders. This one might have cat hair on it, you know?
It's so funny.
yeah.
She's so honest.
Yeah.
Does your quilts, are they long enough to tuck in, or do they just hang right over the edge?
I usually, when I make king size quilts, and now I have 4 or 5 that I can switch off throughout the year, but I make them long enough to hang over.
to hang over.
Mine hangs
Okay.
over.
And yours
'Cause Mom
hangs
made
over.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, hi to the 3 of you. I would like to ask you about scrap quilting. I am an over planner. How do you randomly cut and arrange different fabrics through a quilt? The pieces of my quilt are different shapes and sizes, so just shuffling the deck doesn't seem to work. Seems like it won't work. How do you do it? And that's from B.
So I guess what I'm asking is the pieces of my quilt are different shapes and sizes, or are those like the different pieces that she's already cut for the quilt? Like, is there a specific quilt pattern in mind?
Yeah, I think she's just talking about
how do you cut and arrange?
How do you arrange a scrappy quilt? How do you decide what to do?
I really feel like taking a picture is huge. And I know we say this all the time, but my rainbow quilt is just a great example of this. I did not even go in with a plan. I found a log cabin block on my mom's blog, and I just started throwing it together. I just felt like I was doing it I was eyeing everything. And
because maybe an answer also could be that you don't really want to make it different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Like maybe you do want to keep the sizes more
same.
Coordinated or organized, right?
Like, yeah. Or organized.
Or can you make it completely?
Yeah. So my thought on this was you make it a block at a time because...
Yes, exactly.
I feel like, so right now, just to bring up Moda Blockhead 6 again, I've made the first 5 blocks as of this taping. And I kind of went, and they're all scrappy. And most of them are using our last 3 to 4 collections. Strawberry Lemonade, Laguna Sunrise, Raspberry Summer, Delightfully Yours. But I have gone back and pulled Seashore Drive already and some other fabrics. But I feel like I make a scrappy block and I like it. And then I make another scrappy block and it might be a different colorway. And what I do with Moda Blockheads, if you go back to all my posts, week 1 has 1 block. Week 2, I picture them together. Week 3, I've got 3 blocks in the photo and so on and so on. And I just kind of like feel it as I go, like, oh, okay, well now I've got 5 blocks made. Maybe I need some more yellow in here.
That's what I do. And I'm like, oh, there's not enough teal.
Exactly.
And yeah.
So
I need an even balance.
Right. So yeah, I feel like that's a great way to go about a scrap quilt.
Do it block by block.
A block by block.
Yeah.
Don't overplan, don't cut it all out.
And don't overthink it.
Right.
Too.
And if you have cut everything out, just pull from all your different piles for a block and just really, and then if you have one that doesn't come out that right, it's not going to matter in a scrap quilt. If you have a block that you hate, you're not going to notice it once you. Yeah.
The next one here. Good day, Billy, Sherri, and Chelsi. Love the podcast. My question is, does anyone like the pinked edges of layer cakes, charm packs, and jelly rolls? If no, why do fabric companies keep cutting them that way? Just wondering how you felt about those pinked edges. Keep up the great podcasts, fabric designs, and pattern designs. I hope to go on your next retreat if it's in St. George. I've been to St. George, and Harmon's is a great grocery store. So that's from Carolyn.
I'm actually going to go to Harmon's next week. I can't wait.
I want to go with you.
Yes, I love Harmon's. Great question. I actually don't know the answer. I'm thinking that there must be a reason for the manufacturing process that helps. And maybe it's just so that those fabrics aren't fraying in transit.
So true. I didn't even think about that. They're cute too.
Yeah. And you think there must be a reason like that, or all of the fabric companies wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I do like Moda's the best because the pinking is really small. And I don't like the fabric companies that have the really large pinked edges.
Mom was mentioning how exact the Moda, like say a layer cake, it is exact.
It's exact to the outer edges of the pinking.
Yeah.
Other fabric companies, not so much. You can't guarantee.
Yeah.
So, and every once in a while I've had a Moda pre-cut that isn't exact, but 99% of them are just spot on.
I've never had one.
Yeah.
Where does the term pinked come from?
Pinking shears. So they're scissors and dressmakers and clothing sewers use them so that fabrics don't fray in your clothing.
Oh, okay.
So
then I would assume if that's why it's used in clothing, I would assume that's why it's used for that too. You're probably spot on.
Yeah, there must be a reason that the mills do that, and that's the only thing I can think of.
Because you do have to trim them eventually when you put on your blocks,
right?
Exact. Sometimes you might not have to. I mean, if you're using a charm pack and it's 5 inches,
you just use
and it's perfect, you just use that, and that pinked edge will be in your seam allowance, but you never have to trim it.
Oh, okay.
So,
I see. Okay.
But-
so it must be to stop fraying then.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
I'll have to do a deep dive and see if I can find anything more out, but that would be my guess.
Yeah. Moto, we're emailing you today.
Well, awesome. Well, we thank you everyone that sent in questions for this episode. I do still have some more. We didn't fit them all in, like especially the ones that were sent more later, like after we asked for the last ones. Like I did find some other ones from the past, and so anyway, you know what I mean. But I do appreciate all the ones, and if we didn't get to it today, then they will be coming down the road in another episode. Wrapping up, though, we also like to share our Apple reviews that we get during these listener questions, and we got quite a few since our last episode.
Oh, good.
I'm going to share a couple today, and then we'll do the next ones on the next one. So this first one here, it's titled Enjoyable Listening. I enjoy all aspects of this podcast. It is very interesting to learn tips and reviews from Sherri and Chelsi. They give us an inside view of their creative endeavors and processes. Billy adds an interesting dimension by asking questions from his point of view. Listening is time well spent with what has become a favorite podcast. So thank you very much for that review. That's very nice of you to say, and I'm glad that you appreciate my questions.
Yeah.
My point of view is always, I don't know what you're talking about, or or I need, I didn't know where, I heard you say pinked edges before,
Right.
but I never knew that was associated with clothing or whatever.
That's
Okay.
interesting. I also have to tell you that was something brought up a lot at Motivation, that the shop owners appreciate your perspective. Yeah.
Oh, well, good.
Ooh.
Along with your editing skills. Yes.
So the next one here, it's titled Quilting Must Have. I so enjoy listening to these episodes. Sherri, Chelsi, and Billy are so warm and welcoming. They make quilting relatable and accessible for anyone to try. I get excited to hear the little welcome song that a new episode has dropped.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Thank you for that as well. And
Yeah.
again, if you want to leave reviews in Apple Podcasts, if you listen to there, I think some other apps do have places where you can leave reviews as well. That would be appreciated as well. But yeah, I know Apple Podcasts sort of is the main driver, so we do read those on these listener question episodes.
Okay, so our next podcast episode is Monday, July 14th. Thank you for being here with us today. We love a good listener podcast episode so much.
Okay. And also, we hope that everyone here celebrating has a happy and safe 4th of July. And thanks so much for stopping by.